you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not going to be talking so much about Rich Dad, Poor Dad today, but I'm going to be on this program. But I'll be talking about this book here. It's our latest product called Teach to be Rich. And in my opinion, it's a whole new direction for Rich Dad in many ways. We're going into trying to do our best to solve what I consider to be a massive, massive financial problem. So my concern and the reason I created this Teach to be Rich program is because, as I said, all across the world there's a growing gap between the haves and have-nots. The good news is, people in China and India and things like that, many of them, their standards of living are coming up. But the poor are still poor. And that's not that healthy. So if I show you a diagram here, this here is the year 2000. And this is why I'm concerned. In my opinion, and many economists and other people would disagree with me, right now the U.S. looks like this. You have the rich, and you have the poor. Okay. And this is the U.S., but it's a worldwide problem. And in here, you have the great middle class. My concern is that by the year 2020, and it's just going to start in a few years, it's going to look like this. In a few years, due to a lack of financial education in America, I predict that there will be more rich, and I intend to be one of them, but there will also be more poor. There will be an increased number of poor. How many people know family or friends or co-workers who have nothing set aside for their retirement? Good, thank you. And that's what I'm concerned about. And what I'm really concerned about is this, I've been going into it as time goes on, is one of the reasons this problem happened is very simply because our school system still teaches us nothing about money. And people like my poor dad, a school teacher, always said the government should take care of you. What got us into this problem of this so many poor people in the richest country in the world is because we have a lack of financial education. In my opinion, the way out of the problem is also to increase financial education. So the reason I created this product here, again, I'm not blaming school teachers. It is a system of education that has not, supported this here, and I think it's by design here, that we need this. So I'm asking every one of you at home and in this audience today is to consider it, is to learn to teach other people to be rich. And the reason we created this product is because I became a rich person by teaching. I've been teaching now since 1980, and but not in the school system. I wouldn't work for that pay scale. And I make millions of dollars a year as a school teacher. But the main reason is not so much to make myself money. The main reason I found teaching to be one of the best professions of all, and I didn't come across my profession until I was 40 years old, because I hated school. I found school the most boring, inhumane place. So I would not create a product that is like the school system. For years I have practiced and learned how to make education more fun, how to make it more entertaining, how to make it more effective, how to make it so the person learns something rather than sits there bored stiff and falling asleep all the time. So that's what they created this product for, but in the positioning statement on this book it says, why teach to be rich? So regardless if you're a teacher or not a teacher, if you have a sincere desire to help solve this problem called growing poverty in America, but also desire to help yourself and help your family and your friends, because I suspect this is a very big problem. But the reason this Teach to be Rich works is because the best way to learn is to teach what you want to learn. But anyway, one of the best ways to learn is to teach. And the second reason for this product is, and the best way to get rich is help other people to get rich. Does that make sense to you guys here? So this is a product. It comes in basically 3 different parts. Number one, I'll go into the macroeconomics, because although I didn't do well in school, I did like history. And I studied history. For some reason, I really enjoy history. And that was one of the only few subjects I got A's in. The second part of this book here is, it's about education. It's how we learn. And again, I'll say it. I would not ever ask anybody to teach the way our school system teaches. It is the most inhumane, boring way to learn. It only works for about 20% of the population. You know, how many people are ever bored in school at times? How many people ever wondered, why am I studying this? You know, everyone does, how am I going to use this in the real world? Right? Well, this book sort of answers it. So this is a very practical book. So number one, it's about history, how we got into this problem. Number two is some of the lessons I learned after 25 years of teaching, how to make it more effective for more people, more fun. And number three in this program, you'll be meeting my real advisors, the people that really are the A students around me. It's like I said, one of the things I learned in school was the best way to get smart is sit next to the smartest girl in class, you know, but the teachers always called that cheating, you know, at test time, like this. But in the real world, that's called cooperation, you know, and stuff like this. So later in this program, you will be meeting some of my real advisors. The main reason I created this book is because we're making the shift right now. And I am concerned not only for myself and my family and my friends, but I am concerned about you. I wish I could say this book would help everybody, but obviously it can't. Because some people, when it comes to money, will never change. My concern here is this, that the middle class will be decimated by higher taxes. So I created this book, Teach to Be Rich, so that you can teach yourself and possibly your friends and loved ones, and hopefully some of you can make it out of here and into this category here. And that's why this book was created. Thank you very much. So with that, one of the questions I'm always asked is, how do I get started? You know, how do I stop being a passive investor, and how do I become an active investor? And since I don't sell stocks or anything, I do sell education. That's why I created this cash flow board game. And I'll quickly go over it really quickly. I designed this cash flow board game. Here is the rat race. And people in the rat race, this is what you go to school to. You know, go to school to get a job and win this rat race. People go inside here and they buy stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And they buy a big house. What the rich invest in is out here called the fast track. This was 1933. It was created by the fast track was actually created by a man named Joseph Kennedy, who was the father of President John Kennedy. And the fast track said you had to be a multimillionaire to invest out here. So the best investments are found out here, and the worst investments are in here, stocks, bonds, savings, and all that. The key is to get out of the rat race onto the fast track is you had to understand a financial statement. And that's what the cash flow game teaches. So one of the keys of getting from the rat race to the fast track is, in many ways, this is the financial statement from the cash flow board game. And it is the only game in the world that teaches people the fundamentals of accounting: income, expense, assets, liability, and the statement of cash flow. And so that's what this game was designed to do, so that you would have the skill to be able to be an investor on the fast track. And we'll go into why this document here is so important at the end of the program here. But that's why we created this board game. It's not an easy game. I recommend, you take about 4 hours to play it once. Then you play it about 4 different times. And then if you really want to get good, is you start teaching people, like, 10 other people. The more you teach, the more you learn. And that's why the game was created. So it's basically, this is what my rich dad taught me years ago, so that you can teach yourself and teach others. And in my opinion, this is one of the ways we can minimize that huge transfer of wealth with so many poor people inside a great country that's going broke. So when people ask me, how do I get started, this is how I recommend you get started. And this is here we have 4 people who've played my cash flow game and all this, but this is what it looks like. It looks like a Monopoly game. And there's a ritual I recommend to maximize your learning. So before you get started going in to start investing your hard-earned money, I recommend you start playing with paper money or fake money first, because it's a lot safer with, play money. So what I recommend before you start the game is what you start by saying is, let's say you don't know the people, you introduce yourself and you say such things as, what my family taught me about, what I learned at home about money, stuff like this. Would you start that? This is not so much about fun. It is a fun game, but it's really to enhance your learning and your financial IQ here. So once the game is over, take about 4 hours, then I ask you to complete the game by saying something such as, what I learned from this game is tonight, or when I played it, or how this applies to my life is. So the game has to affect some part of your life now. So it is this ritual, and every time you play it, you go through that same ritual. You'll find out something new your parents told you, but at the end of the game, you'll find that it actually does affect your life. If it doesn't affect your life, it's just entertainment. If it does affect your life, it's education.
my concern is that there's so many women out there today that feel out of control when it comes to money and when it comes to their financial futures. And I am a huge proponent of women getting involved in the world of investing. And more importantly, my passion is really to encourage and educate women to take control of their financial lives and ultimately to become financially independent. So times have changed, and what's worked for our mothers and our grandmothers may not work for us and our daughters and our granddaughters. And there's some startling statistics I want to share with you. This is in the U.S., but I see the same pattern happening throughout the world, which is one of the statistics is 47% of women over the age of 50 are single, meaning they are dependent for their financial well-being. And many of us have heard the statistic, 1 out of 2 marriages ends in divorce. So if she was counting on Prince Charming, think again, and who usually ends up with the children? The woman. So she's now responsible for herself and her kids. And if you're concerned about your mothers or your grandmothers, of the elderly, there's statistics all over the place, but of the elderly living in poverty, 3 out of 4 are women. And the most interesting thing is 80% of those women were not poor when their husbands were alive. So what the statistics tell me is that as women, especially as we become older, we have not been educated, we have not been prepared to take care of ourselves financially, and now more than ever it's more important to do so. And it's not rocket science, as Robert's sharing with you and the advisors will share with you. It's not rocket science. It takes some time. It takes some education. We always say start small, expect to make mistakes, and take little steps, take baby steps to get there.
People think investing is risky. What is really risky is not being in control and taking bad financial advice.